Hello everybody, welcome to another special episode of Tank Talk, covering another premium tank with the most nerfed tank in World of Tanks Xbox 360 history. Just kidding, this tank has never been nerfed, but every time there's an update, there's at least 5 or 6 different threads saying, this tank has been nerfed. Never been the case, and it is the American Tier 8 medium tank, the T26E4 Super Pershing. So, first look at the T26E4. Two things. One, it's classified as a medium tank. Don't let that fool you. This thing, it plays much more like a heavy tank. If you want a Tier 8 premium medium tank, I would say get the FCM 50-ton, the French Tier 8 heavy. This thing plays more like a heavy tank, and the FCM plays more like a medium tank, even though they are classified the exact opposite. The other thing about the Super Pershing over some of the other premiums is the price. It's actually fairly cheap. I seem to recall it being about 8,200 gold, somewhere around there when I bought it. The Tankopedia says 7,200, so I could be wrong, I could be right, who knows. So, at first glance, can't quite see the price of the Super Pershing here, but here's just some really basic stats. I'll go more in depth into them in a second here. Essentially, the Super Pershing is an M26 Pershing with those extra spaced armor plates on the front to give it much better frontal protection. So, just looking from the Super Pershing at some other tanks, the T-34 American Tier 8 Premium Heavy Tanks, 12,000 gold. That's an extra 50% gold just to buy a Tier 8 Premium tank. The IS-6, the Russian Tier 8 Heavy Premium Tank, 11,800 gold. Again, about another 50% in the price of purchasing one. Down to the German tanks, we've got the Jagdtiger 88. Very popular one. 10,000 gold, really good bang for your buck there. One of the more cheaper ones, and it's a really good performer too, but still more expensive than the Super Pershing by about 2,000 gold. We've got the Lure with 12,500 gold, over 50% more gold for the price of a Tier 8 Premium over the Super Pershing. The British, they don't have any. The closest is the AT-15A at Tier 7. And like I said, the French have the FCM 50-ton for 11,900 gold. About 50% more the price, but if you want a more medium tank kind of play style, this would definitely be the choice for you. Definitely more of a medium tank kind of play style with the FCM than the Super Pershing. So if you're expecting a medium tank with the Super Pershing, go with the FCM instead, even though it's more expensive. And the Japanese don't have one; they only have the Tier 5 Chinukai. So that's just a quick comparison of pricing. So 2 advantages out of the box. 1, Super Pershing, fairly cheap compared to the other premiums. Roughly 7,000-8,000 gold. Again, I apologize for not knowing the exact number. And secondly, it gives you your usual premium tank benefits. Accelerated crew training and bonus silver earning, which of course can scale more, both of which can scale more actually, with how you perform in the game. Note that as you earn more experience for having a good game, you will also earn more silver. So if you can do well with this tank, you can get a lot of XP and silver for it. So a quick look at the package here. You can see that the Super Pershing, the engine is only rated a Tier 6 engine, which is part of the reason why it's so sluggish, but it mounts a 90mm gun, T15E1 gun, a one-of-a-kind gun. Let's open up the details here. Only 500 horsepower. That's why this thing is so sluggish to accelerate. The traverse speed and the tracks, 32 degrees a second. The turret, 24 degrees a second traverse, but view range 390. So really slow traverse speeds, but a good view range. Now the gun itself, it has pretty good gun handling. The soft stats you can't see, they're quite good. Good on the move accuracy. Rounds per minute, 7.32. Aiming time, 2.29. Accuracy, 0.37. Now here are some really interesting things to look at. The penetration of the standard ammo is only 170, but look at that APCR premium ammo. 258 penetration. That is on par with the STB-1, the IS-4, the T110E5. Those are all Tier 10 tanks. That is really good penetration for a Tier 8 premium round. So do not be afraid to load up some extra skill rounds and start slinging them with this tank. Now, when you run this tank, I recommend a couple skills that are quote-unquote essential to playing it. Repairs, you definitely want that. You are an artillery magnet in this thing. Sixth Sense is a bit more optional, but I would throw it in, seeing as how you're probably training a medium tank crew or what have you. But definitely repairs and Brothers in Arms, of course. This is quite a bit of a must-have. Clutch braking to help with those atrocious track traverse speeds there. And I have Mentor on this, as this was initially the crew that I used in this tank, and this is a good crew trainer. So now glancing at equipment here, this is what I've used for about the last 30 games or so, and it's worked well. You don't have to use these. Medium telegrapher tank gun rammer, a spall liner for reducing artillery splash damage on me, and a gun laying drive because I've never fired on the move with this thing. It's just too slow for a flank and shank like a typical medium would. That's just what I have. It's worked for me so far, but you can definitely change the spall liner or the gun laying drive for other things, such as vertical stabilizer or optics to improve that really good view range. It's totally up to you. This is just, like I said, this has just worked for me so far. I'll probably change up the gun laying drive at some point. And supplies, I've loaded up only 40 regular rounds. I've got 10 APCR premium rounds with a really good tier 10 quality penetration, and only 4 high explosive. They have really low pen and kind of crappy damage compared to the other rounds, but they're still good for taking out the paper TDs on the German side. And basic small repair, small first aid, and manual fire extinguisher, though I do recommend an automatic fire extinguisher to reduce your fire chance. And again, these two pieces of equipment here, if you want to change them, you might want to try toolbox, vents, vertical stabilizer, or optics to improve on several qualities of this tank and the problems that you will run into. So that's essentially a brief look at the Super Pershing. Let's take a look at the modules. So here's the front of the Super Pershing. It doesn't look like it has a lot of weak points, but it actually does. The turret cheeks underneath the plate in the front, where the gunner sits on the right side, those are vulnerable points. Those tubes at the top, the cupola, those are vulnerable points. The machine gun port on the right side, where the radio operator sits, that's a weak point as well. The driver can get knocked out, but it actually is pretty tough to pen through those spaced armor plates there, making it well protected from the front. Another view of the front here, you can start to see the top side, really vulnerable top side. This is why artillery loves this tank if they know what they're doing. It's very easy to get a major damaging hit if you hit the top of this tank with an artillery, especially on the turret or the rear of the engine deck. And further you can see the weak points on the sides, to the sides of the spaced armor plates there. So let's take a peek at the left side of the Super Pershing here. Kind of typical for an American tank. You've got the ammo rack in the center of the hull, a little bit forward of the turret, or right beneath the turret, I should say. The loaders in the center of the turret on the left side. Right behind the ammo rack, you've got the fuel tanks, and in the very back of the hull, you have your engine deck, as usual. Very, very atypical of an American tank in these tiers to have the ammo rack and fuel tank and the engine deck in those locations. So this tank is quite vulnerable from the left side. So we'll check out the rear as well. In the rear, of course, is pretty much all engine deck. So if artillery hits you there, they can damage your fuel tank or your engine, or both. Set you on fire. They'll just ruin your day. Since the top of that engine deck is just so weak. The back of the turret, as you can see, will probably take out your radio. And you can't quite see it on the right side of the turret, but that's where your commander is. He could get taken out pretty easily from the rear as well. So essentially, very vulnerable from the rear as it is from the left side. A bit of a top view from the rear right. You can see the commander in the back side on the right of the turret, right underneath the commander's hatch, as always. And the entire top side is just laid out in green. That is very, very vulnerable to enemies shooting down at you on an incline, or artillery shells dropping right on top of you. Very vulnerable from the top. And you'll see on the right side, one last look here on the right-hand side, again, very vulnerable from the right-hand side. You've got your gunner right underneath the turret's spaced armor plate. He dies a lot when people shoot you in your turret cheeks. Again, right side, you got the ammo rack right beneath the turret, you got the fuel tank right behind that, and you've got your engine deck in the very back of the hull. All very vulnerable. So essentially, from the front, while this tank has its weak spots, other enemy tanks would have to aim for them, and you're a little bit more protected. But from the sides and rear, this tank is extremely vulnerable. It's very difficult to flank in this quote-unquote medium since it's so slow, but it's very easy to get flanked with it since it's just so very not maneuverable. So it's much better off to just stay in frontal engagements and take on enemies head-on with the Super Pershing, as, like I said, it is not a medium tank, it's more of a heavy tank. So we're going to jump into some gameplay now here on Kamarin Assault. I've got 3 games here lined up. All three of them I'm platooned with my buddies Player TD and Joe the Frogman. We're all just running some Tier 8 premiums together. Joe the Frogman is in his FCM 50-ton, and Player TD is in his Jiggle TD 88. So first game here on Kamarin Assault, a really tricky game to defend from, but we will end up winning this game by playing really aggressive on the north side of Kamarin here, even with my crappy maneuverability. So, like I said, essentially what you want to do is just get in a frontal engagement with this thing, and the best thing you could do with this, even though you have several weak points on the turret, is go nice and hull down. Because even though you have some pretty good spaced armor plates on the front of the hull, they actually can be penned by several tanks in the tech tree at the same tier. For example, I had many holes punched in me. I lost a one-on-one essentially with an Indian Panzer because he was smart and loaded up APCR and just punched holes through my front plates and just slapped me silly and made me look like a retard. So, I mean, it's not completely indestructible. However, those spaced armor plates will completely negate the effects of high explosive and heat rounds. Just the nature of how the rounds work, they will not be effective at all on all your spaced armor to the front of the Super Pershing. So here you can see the accuracy, 0.37. Not great, but it's good enough even for some long-range shots like on that KV-3. I just waited until he went broadside, and he's still exposed here. He seems to be tracked, so I put another side shot into him. Still haven't needed to load up some premium shells yet, but I know that they're there, and I'm just waiting to use them. One more shot into that KV tank, and he's gone. So another reason why hull down is very viable with the Super Pershing is it has 10 degrees of gun depression, which is really good. There's not a lot of tanks that boast that much gun depression. Very few, in fact. The FE-4202 is one of them. I believe the Comet has 12 degrees of gun depression, and the STB-1 also has 10 degrees of gun depression, but there are very few tanks that sport that much as well. An SU-152 in the very back gets spotted, so I want to put a shot in him, and the IS-3 peeking over is what's spotting me, Joe, and Player TD in the south here. So Player TD is sniping over me and Joe the Frogman into the opponent's way in the back. They're still in their spawn, and me and Joe the Frogman are sitting here deciding what to do with this IS-3 when we should go forward and take him out. Right now, he does not have the gun depression to even put a shot on us because he does not have very good gun depression, but I could if I wanted to. However, I know I will not damage him. Now that he's just fired, I'm going to pull forward, try and put a shot. Doesn't really go very well, and just bounce right off of him. And we see a hull down T-29 in the very back there. We're just going to ignore him because hull down T-29s are just a pain in the butt. So pulling forward, trying to get another shot in the IS-3. I get one into his track. Player TD just goes in for the ram. The IS-3 just stays focused on him. It keeps shooting Player TD in the superstructure. So I just pull up alongside the IS-3. You can see it's really tough for this thing to try and flank when it needs to. It's very slow getting up to 30 kilometers an hour. Those extra plates on the front add so much weight to this tank, and it's just so slow because of it. And that's part of the reason why artillery loves you. So we managed to clean up that IS-3, that's spotting for us. I'm just trying to peek forward here and peek my little turret over, see if there's anybody else supporting these other heavies in the center here. We've got a Tiger in the very back, near the center of the island, with the SU-152 still in the back area here. And a T-69 in the back between the spawns there. So the Tiger pulls over right in front of me. I missed my shot. It just auto-bounces right off the front of his turret. I was aiming for his drive wheel sprocket initially, but at the end I just figured I should just take the shot, see if I could get some damage in. I'm picking the south sector there as nobody's really defending it very well, so you can see I am using the gun depression quite well if needed. I could have stopped right there, stayed hull down, and put some shots into that T-69 in the back there, but I rolled over. I want this Tiger gone, so I'm trying to help with him. Just try to put shots into his lower plate, but this friendly KV tank, the KV-5, is just blocking my shots here. So I give up on that, and I see the T-69 is exposed, so I'm just aiming in, put a shot in his side. He looks tracked, so I just let my buddies know he should be exposed, and before he can run away, I try to put one more into him, but it just goes too low, hits him right in the tracks. So that Tiger is actually using the dead KV-5 as cover quite well. So I know I need to roll forward and kind of expose myself to get a shot into him. So he just bounces one right off my front plates. I just put one into his lower plate, damage his engine, and I know one more shot and he's done. I don't even have to worry about it. He only puts a shot into my track there, so my last shot is finally able to finish him up. And I had suffered no damage up until that point when artillery decided, hi! Thanks, artillery. And as you can see, I lost half my hit points in just one hit. Out of 1450 hit points, I only have 750 left. So that artillery did a good 700 damaging hit on me with that direct hit. Like I said, artillery loves shooting at Super Pershings because Super Pershings get absolutely wrecked by artillery, and you're just so slow in this thing. The top speed on this thing, while it is 40, you're really only going to hit that when you're going downhill or on flat favorable grounds. It's really tough to make this thing's mobility shine, and that's part of the reason why this thing plays better as a heavy tank, because it has good protective frontal armor. All that spaced armor is nice and protective from its front. You can use it to soak up shots for your team and just take damage while your supporting team members are able to pull in and just get some side shots. Like so, T-34 took a bad shot at me, completely missed, allowing Joe and player TD to just roll up and get some shots into his exposed broadside. So that was a pretty good play there by us right there, just working as a platoon as always. So that just leaves 3 tanks. We've got the artillery that smoked me, a 40-43. They've got a medium tank and a TD left over as well. Not too worried about what's going on here. Player TD and Joe the Frogman, they're like, look at this. Compared to the Super Pershing, even the Jiggle Titty just rockets up to its top speed. I do is eventually start passing him because I have a higher top speed, but the FCM 50T is just outpacing us as we go since it's such a speedy tank. It's got a really good power to weight ratio, especially compared to the Super Pershing. So we're just moving along here, just looking for some enemy tanks to do the cleanup. We've pretty much won this, and even though Kamarin assault, a lot of people find it difficult to properly defend. The key here, as with a lot of assault maps when you're on defense, is to just be aggressive. You can't hang back and let them come to you. That lets the other team grab the strong positions that me and Joe and player TD were able to take and hold and fight from. You don't want the other team having those strong positions. You want to deny them those positions. Get to them first, and then you can hold off their assault much more easily from there. So player's able to take out that TD. Looked like a J Panther possibly. I'm not 100% sure. Doesn't really matter. Joe and player are able to take out the artillery, and before I can peek over and get a shot, the medium tank gets taken out as well. So that's the game there. I didn't really feel like I did a heck of a lot, but even then, with the help of some ops, look at that, 1,002 silver, just under 1,003, 103,000 silver. And in the post game, I did just under 2,000 damage, 1996, and 1608 assisted damage. A lot of tracking damage there. I was aiming for some track shots and was able to land a few on some tanks that were exposed. So fairly basic game there, but I was able to rake in a lot of silver. And that's what I was saying, when if you perform even decently well in Super Pershing, it could just make you some money, even if you're slinging those really good APCR rounds. So that's why you should not be afraid to fire off some APCR with the Super Pershing, because with 258 pen, putting you on par with the worst Tier 10 medium pen, the STB-1, I mean, that's nothing to scoff at. This tank only gets preferential matchmakers, so you'll only see up to Tier 9s. So 258 pen will make a lot of people think twice about coming after you once you ding them 3 times with an APCR round. So now we're moving on to Airfield War. And sadly, this game was really crappy for Joe because he lagged out right at the very beginning. So essentially, me and player TD were down a platoon mate to begin with. And largely because of that, we're not going to win this game, unfortunately. So as I'm getting into position here, well, I do recommend that you can use hull down tactics with the Super Pershing, utilizing that gun depression and that really good turret armor. I recommend that you only do that as a second line support tank, because from a greater distance, the many weak points on the turret are a lot harder to hit, even for accurate guns. Some of the accurate guns that you'll see at these tiers, which really there aren't very many of them, especially with some of the more popular tanks. A lot of the Russian tanks really inaccurate. That was a terrible shot on the T-71. I thought it was going to continue moving on to the right of my side of my screen, but he just didn't. So like I said, if you're going hull down, do it from a distance. Stay far away. Nice side shot into the turret of the T-43. I know where to hit him. He's not looking at me, so... So, hull down. Stay second line support. It's a lot harder to have the enemies hit your weak points at that stage. And you can shoot some regular AP rounds into soft armored targets, or load out some premiums for some really hard targets if you're having a heck of a tough time against an enemy. But, like I said, really, this thing is more of a support tank than anything else. T-44 pulls up, and I just bounce one off of him. Something else you can do in a more urban environment with this tank is trying to go for a lower plate shot here. Get a nice one on the T-44. In an urban environment, the Super Pershing is actually pretty decent at side scraping. This shot in the side of the turret on the T-44 will damage his radio. So while he's just sitting here getting absolutely reamed, he doesn't have the gun depression to shoot down at my friendly. So I'm trying to put shots into his lower plate and possibly into his sprocket wheel as well, just to try and take him out as quickly as possible. So he's just a one-shot now, and he's gone. Indian Panzer rolls up, and in the distraction, the friendly that was in front of me gets taken out. So I'm just going to back off and try and help play RTD here. And try and pull forward. So, as you can see, with the crappy horsepower, even on a slight hill, the Super Pershing just moves like a slug. It barely moves at all. Easy shots at the M6 in the back there. He's not even close to broadside, but I've got 170 pen, more than enough to hit him in those side plates. And I'm just backing off to try and reposition and support player TD from getting outflanked here by this Indian Panzer and the Tiger prototype. So long range shot into the side of his turret. Didn't really go so well. Hit the side of his hatch and it just bounced right off. So Joe tries rejoining our game right about this stage as you saw him just pop up back online. So I'm going to roll around here. I see the Tiger P's coming around, so I wanted to cut him off. Just putting some shots into him. Trying to get some track shots in. That shot went high into the side of his hull. And then the M12 says hi. And really ruins my day. So I heard my gunner was hurt, so I hit the medkit button, but I didn't realize that my loader was dead. If my loader was dead, I would have healed my loader. Now I've got a wicked long reload time. And I have 136 hit points, thanks to that single artillery shell. And that's the problem. That's one of the major problems with this tank. I now have 63 hit points from a splash hit, and then the Tiger P takes me out. So I essentially went from full health to one shot by a single direct hit from an M12. Like I said, artillery could just ruin your day in this tank. And artillery, a lot of knowledgeable artillery players know that, and they love shooting Super Pershings because they're just so slow, and they get wrecked so badly by artillery. So while the rest of this game plays out, just going to discuss what I was trying to get at earlier. Like I said, playing the Super Pershing as a second-line support tank when you're hull down, not a bad idea, as your weak points are a lot harder to hit when you're farther away. They're much smaller, and just a lot harder for the more inaccurate guns, such as on IS, IS-3s, even KV-2s, things like that. Some of the more accurate guns might still be able to peg you on some of the German TDs or even a couple of the mediums. But for the most part, a lot of heavy tanks will have trouble hitting your weak points when you are, 150, 200 meters away and you're properly hull down. But like I said, you can also side scrape with the Super Pershing to a certain degree. Seeing as it's an American tank, it does have fairly wide tracks, so they're quite protective. And you do have that good spaced armor on the front of your hull. That also helps protect you. Excuse me. Pardon me. Now, the problem with side scraping the Super Pershing is if you angle your tank too far, your opponents that you're facing against can just put shots right into your front sprockets, into the front sprocket wheels on your tracks, which will not only track you, but they will do damage. And I've done it to other Super Pershings, putting shots at the right angle into that piece there. And I've had it done to me when I'm just side scraping incorrectly. But when you do pull off a good side scrape in the Super Pershing, it's really funny how many people just ricochet a lot of rounds. It's an easy steel wall to get. So long as nobody flanks you and gets on your really exposed and vulnerable sides, you can just laugh as people try so hard to shoot at you. Another thing that is really trolly about the Super Pershing is because it's pretty much all spaced armor that protects the Super Pershing, people aiming at you will see excuse me, they'll see a red reticule pretty much anywhere they aim at the front of the tank. And if you haven't caught on that you should not trust the reticule color to determine where to place your shots, then you will hate this tank, because you'll see nothing but red everywhere you look, and you will just bounce all day long. And it's really funny when you see that happening. So people who don't really know the weak points on the Super Pershing, they can have a tough time. They can really hate the tank coming across the tank as well. So finally our last enemy gets taken out, and you can see we just lost that there. So essentially with the Super Pershing, even on a bad game like that, I still raked in 94,000 silver because I managed to deal 2,265 damage. So not a terrible game, to be totally honest. I was dishing out some damage, that T-44, the Tiger prototype, the M6, and I got a couple shots in the T-43 near the start there too. So that's not bad at all. Even on a loss, I made just under 100,000 silver with the help of some ops. That's the benefits of having a Tier 8 premium tank, is it can make you a lot of silver. If you sit down for one day on a weekend and you just want to play some Tier 8 premiums to get some silver back, you can get a lot of silver back. You can get several million silver in one day just from sitting down and playing your Tier 8 premiums. Anyways, moving on. This game is on Arctic region. Again, I'm with Joe the Frogman and Player TD. Player TD switched to his E25 Tier 7 German tank destroyer. Excuse me. So, with this game here, I'm going to move on to the South Pass. Move into the southeast corner there, like a good little quote-unquote heavy tank, and see if I can help out on that side of the field there. So, like I said, the Super Pershing, even though it has really good armor, and you can play it like a heavy, it's still more of a support tank. If you kind of play it as second line support, just get some extra shots where needed, sling a little bit of premium rounds where needed, and save your hit point pool for the right moment when your team needs to make a spearhead push, or the guys on your flank need a quick little spearhead push. You can utilize the troll spaced armor to just pull out, get in front of the enemy's faces, block a few shots, and soak up some potential damage for your team. And while your opponents are on a reload, then your team can just swoop in and help you overwhelm and destroy the last couple reds. And you'll actually see that employed later in this game here. So right off the bat, I see a stock Comet. He puts a shot right into my track, and I'm okay with that. Not too worried. I'm a lot more concerned about this T-71 since he's spotting everybody who went down this flank. But I can't really get a good shot on him. The Comet's just backing way off, so I don't know what's around the corner. I don't want to push too far, and then we see the TDs in the back there. So I'm going to put a side shot into this T-28, get a nice roll on him. The T-71 saw me shoot, so he tries to throw a shot at me. He waits a little bit too long, but I hesitated way too much as well. I could have taken him out right then and there, but I just hesitated way too long. It wasn't a good enough shot, in my opinion, when, to be honest, I should have just pointed right at him, pull the trigger, and taken a chance. But he does get taken out pretty quickly here with this medium moving up, and he's just pinched on two sides. So somebody else gets a shot on him, and I just put one more shot into his backside, and he's gone. Excuse me. So there's two TDs in the back here. One's a T-28. Not 100% what the other one is. This Comet's one shot, so at this point I decided we need to pull forward, knock out this Comet, and get rid of those spotter for those TDs. So with that Comet gone, I just need to back off and make sure artillery doesn't hit me here. And this is where I decide to reposition, as those TDs are expecting a push from this pass here on this 7-8 line, since they already saw us. So I switch around and head to the south there. Player TD and Joe the Frogman are fighting off the other enemy reds that went up into the north side of the map there. Friendly STA-1 gets the same idea as me. He's coming around and flanking with me. Hopefully we're hoping to catch the sides of the T-28 and those other TDs up there by their flag still. Now, like I said, even though the Super Pershing is classified as a medium, it really doesn't play a medium very well. As you can see, it just takes me forever to get around this flank. The STA-1, which came around this flank later than I did, he's already up front in position, ready to get some shots on the enemies sitting by their flag still. So, like I said, major weakness of the Super Pershing. That's part of the reason I'm not a huge fan of playing it. Although I can say I am starting to appreciate it more. I only have about 80 some odd games in this tank, but the more I've been playing it, the more I've started to appreciate it, to be totally honest. So there's a Hellcat in the very back near their base. He almost looks like he's AFK, but we can't really tell. And I'm personally more worried about that Kamarin way in the back there, as he can dish out some pretty nasty DPM on us. And he's got a pretty good hull down position too. So I've got an APCR round loaded. Just going to aim in, put a shot on the Kamarin, and I hit his upper plate, and it just bounces right off. But I managed to bounce his shot as well. So I switch back to regular rounds. Kamarin's going to peek over again. I just fire an on-the-move shot at the Kamarin. Not a very good hit. Right into his gun mantlet. That's an obvious bounce. So as we pull forward, trying to take out the Hellcat, we also spot the artillery there. And the Kamarin gets another shot into my tracks. So I'm trying to signal to friendly artillery that, hey, we have their artillery lit up, can you please take them out? And the Crusader SP comes through for us and takes out the enemy artillery. Tiger 2 knocks out the scout on our left side. I'm trying to get through these rocks, but it's not going so well, so I just got to reposition here. So at this point in the game, I figure I've only got about 800, 900 damage or so with 2 tanks knocked out, so I want to get a bit more damage in. And we've got a Kamarin right around this corner here. He's barely hurt. He's got another friendly heavy on the other side backing him up as well. I've got a fairly unhurt Tiger 2 here, and the STA-1 was completely undamaged until he decided to YOLO. So I pull forward, get a nice shot into the Kamarin's track, as well as some damage into his weak side armor. STA-1 finishes him off, but that STA-1 is so exposed. So me and the Tiger 2, we decide to pull forward, start taking some shots for the STA-1, trying to protect him as best as we can. Easy side shot in the KV-3 as he's backing off. So at this stage, this is where spearheading can come in handy with the Super Pershing. They're taking a couple panic shots at me while I'm moving forward. Take out the KV-3. Now that for the AMX M445, which bounced a shot off of me earlier. He tries shooting at another friendly, but he misses, and I smoke him right in the ammo rack. And the Tiger 2 puts one right over my turret and is able to finish him off. So that leaves the last enemy heavy on the other side of the map, Tiger 2. Since I can't see him, I figure I'm just going to start moving in that direction, but I don't see myself getting there in time to even get another shot off. So that's an instance where using the Super Pershing to its strengths with its troll spaced armor is really helpful. I'm trying to signal to the friendly medium to get off the base. There's one guy left. Let's just cap him out. So by pulling forward like that and having them take some panic shots at me and essentially miss a couple panic shots at us as well, the STA-1 essentially was able to survive till the end of the game in what would have otherwise been a very bad situation for him, where he could have easily been taken out. And that's where you can really use a Super Pershing and strut its stuff, so to speak, near the end of a game there. Just get in enemies' faces, get them to take some really, really untrained and unaimed panic shots at you right into your spaced armor, deflect their shots, and just soak up some potential damage for what could have been kill shots for the rest of your team. So player TD is just swooping in. We're just surrounding him to take him out. And I'm not going to get there in time. So, like I said, Super Pershing, more of a heavy tank than a medium tank, really. If you want a more medium tank, kind of tier 8 premium, go for the French FCM 50-ton that Joe the Frogman has so expertly got himself stuck in down in the canyon there on Arctic region. Although the Super Pershing, for the price of a tier 8 premium tank, the Super Pershing is the cheapest by several thousand gold, and the next cheapest is only the Jagdtiger 88 at 10,000, but the Super Pershing is still a good 2,000 or 3,000 silver cheaper. So even with that game, 112,000 silver, and I only did 1,774 damage, 842 assisted damage, 3 tanks knocked out. Not a great game, but again, with the ops and with the using a premium tank, I was able to rake in a lot of silver that game. And those are the benefits of having a tier 8 premium tank in your garage, especially one that you can enjoy playing, you can just play it and play it and play it and play it for a whole day on a weekend and just cash in several million silver if you need some more tanks or some equipment on some of your other tanks in the garage there. So that about sums it up, folks. Good things about the Super Pershing: good strong frontal spaced armor, good gun depression, and really good APCR. Negative things, just about everything else. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this special tank talk about the premium Super Pershing. We'll see you next time. Mobius Y signing off.